Hello and welcome to the Moose Hunt Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Fickett, and today is a particularly special episode for me. We have on Mr. Paul Beasley from Canada in the Rough. I'm quite sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with Canada in the Rough, so this is a pretty cool one we're going to tackle. And thank you for joining us today, Paul.
Yeah, it's a true pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you in Ontario right now?
I am, yeah. Peterborough, Ontario is our hometown.
Awesome. That's cool. So most of our listeners are actually from Canada and Alaska. So it's pretty cool to get a Canadian on here. It's our first Canadian guest, I believe. So
very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, Canada and Alaska, the two moose meccas, so
exactly.
Makes sense.
Yep. So we're going to kick off. We're going to let Paul pretty much introduce himself. I kind of trickled into a little bit talking about Canada in the Rough, but go ahead, tell us who you are, where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'm the middle of three boys in the family. We actually have sisters too, but they're not really involved in the hunting at all, so no one really knows them from the hunting side. But yeah, us three boys. I have my older brother Keith, myself, and my younger brother Kevin. And three of us just love to hunt. So we got started in this. This is actually just over 20 years ago. And we've been in the hunting industry. TV not for quite as long. I think it was 2009 when we first got onto actual broadcast television. We were doing like online stuff kind of before the days of YouTube and things like that. We had our own website and we're doing some online broadcasting in that way. But we just are a few Canadian boys that just love to hunt anything and everything.
That's awesome. So I guess, how did you get into the hunting media industry?
Well, it started with a deer hunting magazine called Ontario Monster Whitetails. We actually just closed it up last spring. It was predominantly print, only print. We had lots of interest in people asking us to make it digital, and we just didn't see the fit. So we decided to eventually, after 20 full seasons of publishing, we closed it up. But so that was where we got into the industry a little bit. We met a lot of the players, the sponsors, the other media, broadcasters. Wild TV was kind of the one up here at the time. Long story short, we saw TV as a good option. We started doing our own stuff on like our own website through the magazine. We just called it Beasley Brothers Hunts at the time. Like I said, YouTube didn't exist. Facebook didn't exist. So we were just kind of filming our own hunts. It was really rudimentary. But we just had a lot of fun doing it, and we loved it. We loved being able to replay it and relive it and kind of see it all over again. We just thought it was so cool. We had no clue what we were doing. We really didn't. We just kind of fumbled our way through it, and then an opportunity came to get involved with Canada in the Rough. So Canada in the Rough was an existing show. It had 5 years. Yeah, we didn't start it. It had 5 years of history. Thomas Pigeon was the founder of it and the original host for the 5 seasons. And he was a busy businessman that just kind of, I think, saw the toll that a hunting TV show takes on you, physically, mentally, economically, all of those things. And so he was kind of looking for an exit. So he approached us because of some common friends in the industry. We'd been at some events together and stuff, so we kind of knew each other. We'd had a few conversations, but nothing major. And he approached us with an opportunity, and we jumped at it. And we were all young. Two of us were either just married or getting married. Kevin, the younger one, wasn't married yet. He was still in college when we first got involved. And so now we're, I don't know, from 2009 till now, whatever that is, we've been...
Yeah, you're approaching 20 years now, yeah.
Yeah, and we've been at it full time. Like, this is our gig. Everybody, we get lots of questions about, do you do something else? And we always laugh and say, no, there's no time for anything else. Like, this is it. We also do publish the big game records of Ontario. So like Boone and Crockett, Pope and Young, we use those scoring systems, and Ontario has its own record keeping organization. We didn't start it either. In 1989, it was formed, and we got asked to take it on kind of as a volunteer type basis. We were already members of it. We were already certified scorers of it. And when we started the magazine, we got asked to take it on as well. So we kind of ran FROW, it's called, Foundation for the Recognition of Ontario Wildlife. We ran that hand in hand with the magazine and then the TV. So now we're still running the record books and we're doing the TV thing.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a full plate right there.
Yeah, it keeps us busy. I mean, there's 7 of us that are full time at this, and then a number of other contractors on top that to keep this ship running.
Yeah, you mentioned the original host, that it was a big toll on him for doing it full time and everything like that. Do you find that it's a little bit easier with it being three of you, or are you all kind of doing the
Yeah.
same amount of hunts?
No, I can't imagine doing what he did. Um, because Canada Rough has a bit of a different model from a lot of other shows. Not better, not worse, just different. We try to feature Canada. We aren't doing much, if ever, of backyard stuff. Don't get me wrong, we still hunt in our backyards, our kids, all that kind of stuff. We're still hunting all the time. But as far as what you see on the show, what you see on YouTube, and what we put out there is stuff from all over. And so trying to cover, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Canada very well, but it's a big geographical place. So, I mean, like for us to hunt within our own province, we can drive 24 hours and still be within our own province,
Wow.
to give you an idea, and still only have access to one moose tag, one deer tag, one, sometimes two bear tags. Like I could turn around and go that direction south or southwest and cover how many different states?
A lot.
Right? Yeah, like Florida is 22 hours from me. So it shows you, and that's just one province. So Canada's so big that what he was doing, he was trying, and you need to, if you want to represent Canada, you got to get out to travel to those provinces. So it's a challenge and a task to be able to do. And so, long story short, yes, what he was trying to accomplish and what he did accomplish was amazing. As a principally solo host. For us, having the three is crucial. There are times, and again in September, this September, we will have three hosts with three cameramen in three different parts of the country filming at the exact same time. It's the only way to make it work. If you're a solo host trying to do this type of hunt or style of show, you'd either have no family life, or you'd be on the road nonstop, and you'd still miss a lot of the great windows because, as you know, there's lots of overlap between good seasons. So if you want to be prime moose and still some prime, caribou and the Arctic and the Western hunts and moose hunts all kind of coincide to be all within a few week window. So we make most of our broadcast stuff all within about a 6 week window of time, maybe even less. Maybe more of it's probably mostly in 4 week window.
Wow. So would you say that's probably the biggest hurdle since you guys took it over has been being able to go everywhere all over the country within such a short period?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of logistical planning required. But yeah, that's definitely a challenge. But it's our strength being that we are three of us. We have three full-time cameraman editors, so we can we don't use contractors for cameramen except for additionals. We have three full-time guys, and the reason for that is we need to be able to grab them and go. If you rely on contractors and freelance guys, you're not in control of their schedule. So we have to, because if you have a fail or you need to extend and stay longer, or you failed, and you know what, hey guys, we're gonna jump from Newfoundland. We got to now go to Alberta, but then we're gonna come right back to Newfoundland here again because we have a short little window. You just need that. So yeah, that's been one of the keys to us being able to get the footage we need, and it is being where you need to be when you need to be there. And the only way to do that is just being able to split up, divide and conquer.
Does that happen quite often? You said sometimes you might have to jump from Newfoundland, go to Alberta, then come back to Newfoundland. Does that happen quite often? Say you didn't get an opportunity or whatever, and so you're like, oh, there's a couple days left in the season, let's bounce back. Does that typically happen, or is it?
I mean, way more than I wish because it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's hard on the pocketbook. Flights aren't cheap, right? Like we drive wherever we can because I would way rather drive my gear to a destination than fly, and bringing meat back is way better driving than flying, as you know. But yeah, no, I mean, I would say it depends on season, but on average, we'd have probably 2 to 3 failed trips a year. I would say is pretty fair. And so you either go back and try to go at it again, or you stay longer, or just sometimes it's just impossible for whether it's for the outfitter, his schedule, or ours, and we just have to admit the fail. So yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like that about you guys because I mean, I've probably watched almost all your episodes on YouTube at least. I do like that you guys, that you guys do show some of the fails or some of the non-successful hunts, I should say. I think
it's real, right?
A lot. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people always try to just push the success, but success isn't always filling a tag. It's experiencing the country that you're going to see. So
Yeah, and I mean, we hear this all the time. People love to tell you, don't pass on the first day what you'd shoot on the last. And I wrestle with that because I love the experience. I love being out there. And for example, a Newfoundland trip, New Brunswick trip I did a few years ago. First day, first 15 minutes, we had a beautiful, 38 to 42 inch bull standing at, I forget, 35 yards or something like that, giving us all the shots in the world. Like it was just slam dunk. And it's a beautiful bull. Like a 38 to 42 inch bull is beautiful. But I know New Brunswick has a lot bigger. And so I'm like, oh, do I want to end my hunt right now with this great, good bull, or do I want to wait? And I chose to wait. And I hunted right till the bitter end. And the last morning, we blew it. I have excuses for why we blew it, but we blew it on a giant on the last morning. And I look back and say, if I had shot that bull, yeah, I would have come home with great meat, which I did regret. That was my regret because I didn't come home with any meat from that trip. But I had such an awesome week just experiencing all the other fails and tries and stuff from hunting 5 more days. So, I don't know. To me, the hunt is more than just the meat. The hunt is more than just the trophy. The hunt is more than just, the camaraderie. The hunt is all of those things. And I don't want to miss out on any one of them. So I try to maximize each of those things.
I agree. I think I look back and, some of the most fun I have had in the moose woods might have been with some of my clients that never actually shot a moose. I took a bow hunter last year. One of my clients was, and I had never guided a bow hunter before. I'd probably do it again. It wouldn't be my first choice, but anyways, he passed on one the first night because he was a trophy hunter, and we had another one come into 5 yards, but he just couldn't get a shot through a spruce tree. It wouldn't have been an ethical shot, and it was just the most awesome, cool, closest moose encounters. And he was like, "Well, going home. See you again some other time." I'm like, oh, that was such a killer week, man.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So that's why, to me, we do show those because it is real, and we don't think that hunting should just be about the trophy. Even though, don't get me wrong, we are trophy hunters too, but we're also trophy meat hunters, and we're also trophy experience hunters. I want the full package, and so hey, if it had been a 60-incher on the first morning, would I have pulled the trigger? Yeah, I would have. So that's why I can't tell you. I'd be a hypocrite if I said it was all about the experience. So it's that balance. It's that you try to find the best experience out of each hunt. And hey, that was a 5-day season. That's all they have in New Brunswick is 5 days to get your hunt done. And you try to make every minute count. So
yeah, that's crazy. How do you guys how do you choose outfitters that you go with?
Oh, good question. There's a bit of a balance there. I shouldn't say balance. There's a bit of a mix of methods. Because every province is a little bit different. Sometimes we work with tourism agencies, and they sometimes tell us where to go. And so sometimes we don't have a choice. We just get told, hey, we want to do this with you. Here's who we have lined up. Most of them, though, let us do the research and pick. And with that comes, hey, some of them don't let us repeat either. So that's another thing. Sometimes you find a really great one, and they'll say, no, you can't go back there for 5 years or something like that. As part of our contract, and so that's a bit of a bummer sometimes because you find a really good one, you'd love to go back. But so basically, the point is we're always researching, we're always listening. We've thankfully been at this a long time and made lots of incredible connections across Canada, and so we do have a bit of a ear to the ground. If we're thinking of something, usually there's people we know we can call and say, hey, what do you think of this area? Does this area have what we're looking for? And the goal is always to try to represent both the hunting experience and the province in the best light as possible, because we want to show the greatness of Canada and show what is available. So, but we've had our fair share of surprises. You get to somewhere and it's not what you thought.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah, I was curious on that. Do you have people that ever reach out to you and say, "Hey, we want to have you guys"? Yeah,
all the time. Yeah.
Do you ever choose any? Do you ever choose any of those or?
Yeah, for sure. We'll give everybody a look. But, there are certain things that we are looking for sometimes. And I don't mean that to sound like, snobbish or something like that. But we are looking like, so for example, we, we have people though sometimes we're going to say, hey, this isn't realistic to my area. Why don't you come and experience a hunt in my spot and see what it's like to hunt here? And okay, so first off, we have, say 7 days to get this done. So we're looking for an area that can produce a reasonably mature animal in a 7-day window. So first and foremost, if an area doesn't look like it can produce that, why are we going to go there? We're going to go try to find an area that can produce a mature animal in that. Again, it's not always about the hugest trophy. If you watch our show, you'll notice we're not all about the biggest rack and the greatest skull and stuff. I mean, sure, we love trophies, but so yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question well.
Yeah, absolutely. There you are.
We are looking for uniqueness is cool too. Like we love it when there's a good story. Like if you can find some unique something about the area or the people or something like that. That's always really cool when you can kind of mix that human element with the animal element. That's something that we look for. But yeah, ultimately we love to meet good people. So we love to work with good folks. And we love to find good adventures, with that hopefully have a decent chance at a good animal. I mean, we're not afraid to work for it. We've definitely learned that in Canada, I'm sure it's true anywhere, the more remote you get, meaning the harder you have to work, the better your experience often is, because you're away from the crowds. You're out into those untouched places. One of my favorite places on earth is a mountain valley in Alberta. I've had so many great hunts out there with a friend. It's all just with a friend, just hunter hosting, and but you gotta walk 11 kilometers past where the vehicles can go. No motorized vehicles, and we go 11 kilometers in, and it's so beautiful and pristine because of that reason. Most people aren't willing to pay the price to get back there, and so as a result, you can have some great hunts. So yeah, it's a combination of all those kinds of things.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think? What do you think's been your favorite episode? What's been your favorite hunt that has been broadcasted? I should say.
Cool.
Any animal. It doesn't even have to be. I know we're going to talk moose and stuff, but
I don't have an answer off the top of my head for you. It's kind of like saying what's your favorite child.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because there's so many different elements that I love about them. Some of them I truly love how hard they were, but the feeling you had when you succeeded. Some of them are so simple and easy, anybody could do it. But I love how fun and social they are. To pick a favorite one, geez. Yeah, nothing's coming to mind. I won't lie. I don't know.
Put you on the spot on that one. Sorry.
Yeah, after I don't know how many episodes we've done. I don't know that I could really say one's my favorite because they're so different. They're for all those reasons. Some of them are, you're in a beautiful lodge with great comforts, and the hunting is easy. And then you're in other ones where you're grinding it out in a tent and the weather's rough. But when you succeed, there's no greater feeling than putting that animal down and being able to enjoy the back straps over a fire that night or something like. So yeah, favorite hunt. I don't know that I could pick just one off the top of my head. I'd have to think about that.
So they're all your favorite. That works.
I love them. Yeah, for different reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on another question I was going to ask on whether you're in a lodge or an outfitter tent or like a cabin in the woods somewhere or whatever. Which do you think you prefer for the experience wise? Like, would you prefer to be out of a lodge, out of a tent?
No, I mean, I love those tent hunts. I love tent hunts. It does get more difficult, obviously, when the temperatures dip, below freezing. That's when tents start to get a little more difficult, because you just can't dry your gear. You get wet. It's harder to dry it, and it's harder to just survive those bitter cold elements when it's that. But if I could kind of script my perfect hunt, it would definitely be in one of those really remote backcountry locations with a tent, one of those little micro wood stoves, and those temperatures that just at night they go below zero, but in the daytime they get freezing. But in the daytime it warms up just a little bit or stays just a couple degrees below. Like that's my favorite kind of experience. I love the weather when it's cold. I love hunting in that temperature. I love it when the animals are just so much more active when it's cool but not bitter. When it's bitter cold, they're in survival mode too, just like we are. So they don't always move as well when it's bitter. But yeah, I love tents and stuff. Don't get me wrong, though. Lodges are fantastic for other reasons. They're comfortable and yeah, you sleep better and all those other things. But as far as the experience, like I just did a hunt last year in Newfoundland, in a tent, and we were pitched right alongside this river that had salmon running through it, and I don't know, like there's just nothing better than that feeling. You wake up in the morning, there's that mist rising off the water, and you're laying in your tent at night. You could hear bulls grunting and cows bawling, right from your tent. Like there's not much that beats that experience to me.
Yeah, I'd say we're definitely in agreement with that. That's yep, definitely agree. Geez, now you got me looking forward to this fall.
Right? There's something about it. And once you start thinking about it, it's hard to get it out of your mind.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. How did you guys get in? Did you grow up in a hunting family?
Kind of, not really. Like, so our dad, we come from five kids. Our dad, worked hard just to keep us going. So he typically had his 9 to 5, and then he'd also did a lot of, refereeing hockey and other kinds of things in the evening. So he worked hard just to keep us, because we all played sports and did all that stuff, which is expensive. And, played a fair bit of travel stuff. So our dad didn't hunt a lot. I would almost describe it more as we kind of learned it together. He was totally encouraging about his BB guns, let us go, grow up in the woods and fields all around the house. But when it came to actually deer hunting, like I think most of us had shot a deer before Dad did.
Oh,
If that
wow.
makes sense. He always put us first, and he was, it was all about him getting us out. And so I think when he finally killed his own first one, I think all of us had already killed one or more. So yeah, I'd say we kind of learned it together, but it was because of Dad fostering it, and providing those opportunities that it kind of came about for sure. So yeah, we didn't grow up with a dad that did it all the time, because like I said, he was focused on keeping clothes on our backs and
Mhm.
food in our bellies, but he definitely was the reason we got into it all.
Yeah, it's always nice to have somebody encouraging you and giving you the opportunities to do it. So
No question.
yeah,
Yeah.
do you remember what got you hooked on it? Was it deer hunting? Was it a certain experience while deer hunting, or
I can't put it to one experience, because for us, I mean, I honestly, you could see it in us when we were kids running around with BB guns shooting frogs and snakes. Um, like what made us do that? I look back with a lot of guilt now, actually. and
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that the other day. What we used to do with 22s and frogs and
right.
ponds.
Yeah, so I regret a lot of that, because I feel bad, but that there was something in us. We weren't created, like we weren't what's the word? We weren't taught this. This is just who we are, and so yeah,
Became
as
natural.
boys,
Yeah.
it did, and we had a crazy drive for it, and even when it wasn't hunting, like I was 10 years old, running out to the back fields, with a little 35 millimeter point and shoot camera that had like zero zoom
Yeah.
on it, trying to take pictures of deer out in the field, and I'd go sit out in the mosquitoes and watch for 5 or 6 or 10 does and fawns to come out into a field and take pictures of them. Like, what makes a 10-year-old kid do that? I don't know, but it was always in us, and we've always loved that stuff. So, yeah, there's not one particular one. I didn't kill my first deer till I was 15, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, I think I was 15 before I killed my first deer. Um, even though we started hunting, like Dad would take us up north, 2 hours north, to hunt with his cousins, kind of in the big bush dog style. And we never saw anything, hardly ever saw a thing. You'd hear the dogs run. You maybe caught a glimpse of a tail running through the hardwoods or something, but we never did. It wasn't until we started hunting near home, farmland, on our own, doing our own kind of scouting, our own tree stand setups and that kind of stuff, that we finally started to kill some deer. And yeah, that wasn't until that later teenage years.
Yeah. Have you done any dog hunting since then?
Funny, yeah. So no, not really. We tried it. We went to Finland, the home of Sacco and Tikka Firearms, and we got invited to go over there and participate in a traditional Finnish style moose hunt and bear hunt. Actually, the bear hunt was highly unsuccessful in Finland, though we did do it in Russia. with them as well. But yeah, so we've done dogs there, and we tried to film it, and it was really tough. Even with multiple cameras, it's really hard to know which guys are going to get the moose to run by them. And so we did get to film, I think, 2 on camera, but it's not great footage, when they're running around and stuff. But no, otherwise, like, I still miss that sound of those hounds. Like, I still remember it, and I still kind of wish we could do that again. But no, we haven't done anything like that since back in those days. So it's been a long time. But yeah, kind of cool. I did shoot a moose though, on dogs, but over in Finland, and this was in Russia. They do it where instead of the dogs chasing the moose, the dogs over there tried to stop the moose from running. So they actually
really?
they try to bay the moose, kind of more like what you do with hogs. Where you'll get a chase going, and they set a catch dog, and the catch dog stops the hog. Well, they don't bite the moose, but they just bay them. They just bark and stop it, and then you now have to sneak into range through the thick timber, and try to get a shot of them. So, done some dog hunting that way, and that was really neat, really cool experience. Shot a nice moose doing that.
Yeah, that's kind of how we do. Bears with hounds here is pretty popular in Maine, and that's how a lot of it is. Yeah,
but you're treeing them, right?
Yeah, or
treeing
them or baying them. Yeah, if they're if you have the right client, if you have the right client, one that is accurate and good with his weapon, and can actually get in there quick enough before the bear jacks one of the dogs up.
Yeah,
but we've done both. But mainly
very cool.
Try to tree it. But if it's bayed and you have an opportunity, go for it.
Yeah, very cool. I didn't realize they bay that often.
Yeah, they can. Typically the big ones. We can get big ones in the trees. I think, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we got a 450 pounder out of a tree.
Wow.
And the houndsman, he's from North Carolina. He said that was rare. He said that was the biggest bear he'd ever treed before. Usually the big ones stay on the ground.
Yeah, stay on the ground. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right, let's talk some moose hunting. This is what
all right.
This is what we joined on here for. I could have talked about Canada in the Rough all day. But all right, so what was your first moose hunt?
Successful or unsuccessful?
Your first time
ever
getting a moose tag and going moose hunting.
First moose hunt, so Dad and a few of the men from church just got together and went on a moose hunt. Really didn't have much intel on the area. Really didn't have much experience. I don't know if any of them had ever shot a moose. I can't remember for sure, but I'm not sure if any of them had ever shot a moose before. And I was probably, I don't know, I'm going to say 10 or 12, somewhere in that, maybe a little older, but somewhere in that range. And we went out, we saw lots of tracks. No one saw a moose the whole week. But man, we had a ton of time. We had a blast. I sat there just so excited and patient, just thinking like how cool it would be to see a moose. I just remember seeing a great big bull track on a logging road and just being blown away by it. Like, I just remember thinking, I can't even imagine seeing an animal stand in that track and what that would look like.
How old were you? Did you say you were?
I think I was 10 to 12.
Oh, yep.
I think.
Oh, wow.
What
I
was.
Okay.
So, and that was kind of when I from that moment on, I just always wanted to see that moose that would make a track like that. I just couldn't wrap my head around, what does that animal look like? They must be so big. And we went a number of years again, probably without moose hunting, just, it was all just deer and stuff. And then we got to go up a few times, and I had probably, 2, 3, 4 unsuccessful moose hunts where I passed. At that stage of my life, I started to get real picky on antler size and stuff. I'd always be waiting for that biggest one, and I'd pass on some 30 inchers or some forkhorns and stuff. Looking back, I'm like, that was stupid. I should have just got the experience and enjoyed the meat and stuff. But at the time, meat didn't mean anything to me. I was still living at home, and I didn't care about the meat that time. And so then it was just really about the experience, and I wanted that big rack. And so I probably had 3 or 4 good moose hunts, great opportunities, probably passed 4, 5, or 6 bulls, and just never pulled the trigger. I was just always happy to have the encounter, but never did it.
Were those all in Ontario?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this was all way before TV and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just Ontario drawing our own tags and stuff. And then we did then I killed my first moose with the show.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Awesome.
I think it was. I think my first one was with the show. Yeah, because I kept passing on ones all before that, never really caring. I wanted that big rack, and so yeah, we did an episode with a good friend named Joe Dampier up in Thunder Bay, and we had a really awesome experience with him. He he's a local, but also did some guiding. Sounds like what your kind of thing with an outfit, and we anyway. But this was separate. We drew the tag ourselves. Got ourselves into the area, which was real remote, and had a wicked hunt. We basically had this mile-long lake, real thin across, maybe 200 yards across, and we kind of set up crews on each side of it, and just kind of as we left camp, we just walked down both sides. We did a little bit of calling, a small bit of calling as we walked, and then by the time we got to the end of the lake, we weren't there more than probably 15 minutes at the crack of dawn, and we could just hear all up at the opposite side of the lake where my other brother was. And anyway, long story short, that bull walked right by him at 80 yards, and we were bow hunting. So he made the wise choice not to take a risky shot. He let that bull walk across him. So they filmed it all past him, and then it goes and crosses the lake and comes up on shore on our side. And as soon as his feet touched shore on our side, he was 8 yards from me.
Oh, that's
and I got
close. Wow.
It was crazy. Got to sink an arrow into him. He had 8 yards. It was just amazing that he picked the right spot. We picked the right spot. Whatever. For him to just he hit land right where we were. And that was a pretty epic morning, epic experience for us. So that would have been the first kill that I had of a moose.
Wow, that's a heck of a first one, and to be the first one on the TV show. So
Yeah. I'd been involved in kills. Like I'd been standing beside people as they shot other moose. I just had never personally pulled the trigger before, and had passed, lots of ones that were nice, but
yeah, nice, man. So you've obviously been all over Canada hunting them. So multiple subspecies. Here on this side, New Brunswick side's all Eastern Canadian, and then you got over there, Yukon. And you got some Shiras up in Canada too, right?
Yeah, Alberta, Southern BC. Yep.
Yeah. What would you say? Is it different hunting each one?
I don't know if you can say the subspecies make that much difference. If it's the subspecies that make the difference, or is it just the geographic location that makes the difference? I almost lean towards it being more the geographic location than the species. Meaning, I don't think it's as much genetic as it is situational to where they live and what they survive in. And so what I mean by that is, hey, Newfoundland moose, I think they're your moose, like their main moose.
Yeah, I think they're Eastern Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the Newfoundland and New Brunswick moose were both reintroduced from Maine moose. So literally they're not just in the Eastern Canadian subclass, their genetics come from Maine. And then so hunting them though, like I think even hunting Newfoundland moose and hunting New Brunswick moose are almost different, and different styles of hunts. And then Ontario's different as well. Ontario, Manitoba are very similar, but Yukon, when you start getting up into that Yukon, I haven't hunted Alaska, but I've been within 15 miles of the border, so it's basically all the same thing. They're also a little bit different. They do behave a little different. Shiras though, I don't know. My experience with Shiras was very similar to Ontario moose in some respects, and similar to the Yukon stuff in others, meaning that they tend to inhabit that more open terrain, and so they do tend to harem up. We did find that with those Alberta moose, they tend to harem more like your Yukon and Northern BC stuff do. But at the same time, I've seen good harems in Ontario and New Brunswick as well. So that's why, again, like I've had some disagreements with biologists before about the whole concept of harems and how many cows can a one bull service and stuff. And I think that sometimes we try to apply human rules to the wildlife, that the wildlife don't always respect our rules.
So does that mean that you think there's only one cow per bull, or do you think a bull kind of gets the deed done and bounces off to the next?
Not even a question. He bounces, and he will even handle more than one cow at a time. You will get cows competing, and so the cows don't like to share the bull, and you'll have cows fighting with each other over that. But there's not even a question. One bull can service so many cows. We have this real misconception. The biologists in Ontario, the MNR, have this strange theory that one bull, they have a number, I forget what their number is, but can only service X number of cows. And so they claim that they're trying to reduce the cow population to keep our bulls healthier. And at least that's the theory I've heard for why they keep offering so many cow tags, yet telling us that our moose populations are low. Because if your moose populations are low, why are you killing your breeding stock?
Yeah.
And personally, I think it's completely backwards. It drives me absolutely crazy that they do this. That they issue so many cow tags and calf tags when we have a lot of areas in need of growth, and they claim that it's for this reason. But I think it's complete bull. I have seen way too much evidence to the contrary that one bull can service many cows, even to the point that I'm not sure that these bulls necessarily even stay with the cows as long as, say, like a whitetail. 24, 36 hours for a whitetail for them to breed when they're really tending. I don't know. I think these bull moose, sometimes it seems like they're here today, bredder and gone tomorrow. Like it can happen fast, and they cover so much ground. Like we've literally watched bulls, here today and 10 miles away the next day, but with cows on both spots. So it's not like he left because there was no cows. So I swear he comes in, gets his deed done, and carries on. And I think that's pretty much kind of right. Whereas Yukon, though, like you see them hair him up, and they'll hair him up for the season. They'll have a dozen cows with them for the whole season long, it seems like, unless another bigger bull comes in and pushes them off.
Now, do you think that's because of just the vastness of the area that they might as well just stay close, because if they're not close, they're far?
I do, and to avoid predation. I mean, they're stronger in numbers. There's so much against them in the Yukon and Alaska: bears, wolves, everything. And so as a result, I think it is more survival than anything else, and that's why I say I think it's more related to the geographical situation rather than the genetics. Whereas too often people like to apply the genetics to it and say, "Oh, this subclass does this." Maybe. I think it's more just they do this because of where they live, and that's what it takes to survive and prosper. Whereas, but I could be wrong. This is just all anecdotal. These are just, hey, we spend time in the wood. I'm definitely one of those critical minds that likes to pick things apart and try to explain why. And I make up lots of rules for these animals and say, oh, I saw this, so they must do that. Well, the next one doesn't, and you go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. You kind of touched on the predator thing a little bit. Do you think that in a high predator area, the hunting tactics is a little bit different? Like, do you think they're harder to call?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not even a question. And that's not just human predators. That's the four-legged predators as well.
Sure. Yeah. You got grizzlies, wolves.
Absolutely. Not even a question. I mean, I've hunted elk. One of the greatest examples of it to me was we were hunting elk in Alberta, and these elk wouldn't bugle. Like, would not bugle. We were sleeping in tents in the mountains, and you wouldn't hear bugles at night. You wouldn't hear bugles in the day. But yet there was trail cameras out. We were seeing the elk with our own eyes. We started talking to some other local hunters after the hunt, and they said, no, that's true, because they have cats, they have wolves, they have coyotes, they have bears, grizzlies, blacks. They just have so many predators, they've learned to keep quiet. And I would agree. I hunted that mountain valley for elk 2 or 3 different times and never heard a single bugle during the peak of the rut for that whole time. And yet the elk were there in good number. So moose are no different. They all learn to survive, and some of them learn to be more quiet, and for sure. Whereas that's why Newfoundland's so exciting. Newfoundland has very little predation. That's why their moose numbers are so incredible. Yes, they have black bears. And so black bears are a predator more so of the younger calves.
Yeah, calves. It's the same here.
But they'll still take an adult moose. They can under the right circumstances, which is rare, but under the right circumstances. But wolves are almost non-existent. They occur on the island of Newfoundland, but they're very, very, very rare. And coyotes, they're there, but again, very low number. Like, of all the moose hunts I've done in Newfoundland, I don't even know what that number is. I'm not sure. It's high in the double digits of moose hunts I've done in Newfoundland, and I've still never laid eyes on a coyote, and I've only heard them howl a couple times. So as a result, their moose exhibit the greatest natural moose behavior. So it's a wonderful place to go to hunt, to exhibit natural moose behavior. Watching them grunt and chase and bellow and bawl and just seeing them do their thing because they're uninhibited. When you get into the backcountry there, they don't see people, they don't see predation, and so they just get to be moose. They're probably the most fun moose to hunt for that reason.
Really?
You don't get that experience in heavily pressured areas. Those are the areas where, man, by daylight, those moose are in the thick cover. You gotta be on your toes to get between them and cover, or you're hunting them in that thick cover. And so, yeah, you just that I think it's heavily revolving around predation.
That, I actually didn't know there was not really many predators in Newfoundland. I would say because, geez, here the coyote numbers are so loud, so bad here. I know, some morning, opening morning is always like Christmas morning. You get out and you can't wait to rip a cow call. And I can remember a few seasons of just, you rip out that first cow call and then just a pack of coyotes lights up and you don't see or hear a single thing all day other than that. And you're like, well, no moose here.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's why Newfoundland is so great. And that's why, Newfoundland's moose recruitment, I don't have stats off the top of my head, but their moose recruitment is extremely high compared to, say, Ontario or Manitoba or these other places where we have bears, wolves, coyotes, all predating on calves. Newfoundland is a moose factory. It's producing so many because lack of predation.
What's like what are they eating on the most in Newfoundland? Because Newfoundland's like a lot of, I've never been personally, but it's a lot of like wet, boggy and stuff area, correct?
So yes and no. Okay. I don't know if you're aware, but Newfoundland's also called the Rock, which seems counterintuitive because most people think of Newfoundland as being wet bog. And you're 100% right. A lot of it is bog. But they also have high country. They have rock country. They have a bit of it all. They have thick black spruce timber. And so, yeah, what's their food source? There are some grasses out in those bogs that they will pick at, but I'd say that's pretty sparse and few and far between. For the most part, they're browsers of the trees, the buds and leaves, and they love those poplar ridges and stuff where they can.
Okay, so there's like a lot of poplar and stuff there too.
I wouldn't say a lot. Okay. I wouldn't say a lot. It's predominantly spruce, but they do love those poplar, aspen type stuff for sure. But yeah, it's kind of I don't know. It's funny. Like you can't really. In Newfoundland, it's not obvious to you. It's not like you walk along and you're like, oh, this spot's going to be loaded because of this food source. It's just so vast and so homogenous that they have food everywhere, just about everywhere. And it's really hard to really isolate specific food sources. But yeah, the moose just thrive out there in it.
Have you noticed that they're eating different things at different times of the year? So like here, they will eat spruces and such, but it's usually more wintertime. And then during the summer and spring, it's usually like aquatic vegetation, wet greens. And then, in the fall, here it's like red maple and stuff like that. But they'll eat the maples, the popples, the aspen, stuff like that.
So the challenge for Newfoundland is they don't have as much diversity as us and as you. So sorry about that phone.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, so they don't have as much diversity, which means that they do eat more of the same diet for longer periods. With that said, I am told that they eat aquatic vegetation, but I've asked a million different guides this because I've never filmed or seen moose eating aquatic vegetation in Newfoundland. In fact, you hardly ever even see them in the water. Whereas,
really?
Ontario, Manitoba, Quebec, you spend a ton of time hunting around water and you often shoot them up to their bellies or sometimes even up their backs, dunking their heads and eating aquatic vegetation. But I'm told that during the spring and summer months, yes, they are out there eating aquatic vegetation. I've just never personally experienced it when I'm there. But yes, I'm told they do that. But I would say that they stop because I've never witnessed it. In the not to say that they can't or won't, but it's not predominant. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, you got to think the times of the year that you're there
for sure. However, the same time of the year that I'm hunting in Newfoundland, they're still eating aquatic vegetation in Ontario. So I would have thought that it would still happen, but it might just be the type of vegetation or whatnot. But they just don't have as much deciduous stuff. So their deciduous options are much further and farther between, and so as a result, they've really learned, I think, to eat that spruce and whatever. I'm not sure if they're into the mosses. I sometimes wonder if old man's beard or any of that stuff. If they do it, I can't tell you if they do or not. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
I sometimes wonder.
actually, I don't know if I've ever seen deer here eat a lot of old man's beard. Um,
Yeah, but have you
I
ever
don't,
seen a moose?
not personally.
No. See, I haven't either, but I often sometimes wonder if they do it just because there's such a lack of other options for them that I do wonder, and there's an abundance of it. But I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to identify or to truly isolate what they're eating because there's so few options there. But
Yeah,
there's few options, but there's an abundance of the same thing.
yeah. Um, I I I would say it seems like where a moose likes to live, it'll adjust its feeding habits. So there's one area that I hunt here up north that it usually holds moose. It's not like you wouldn't go there and be like, wow, this is where moose live. But went in there one fall and all the raspberries were mowed down. All the
Yeah, yeah,
raspberries were mowed down everywhere. And you're like, wow, looks like somebody took a brush cutter through here. But then you go to other areas where moose live abundantly and the raspberries are, up to my neck. So
yeah,
it's like,
untouched.
why did it
Yeah,
eat all the raspberries there? And then other
yeah,
places where the food source is more abundant, it doesn't touch raspberries. So I think
exactly. Yeah,
it seems like they're comfortable where they are. They're going to find something to eat.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah, just like I've never seen them strip bark in Newfoundland. But I've seen them eat and strip bark in other provinces, especially the West.
Yeah.
Where they literally just stand there and reach up as
Yep.
high as they can with their teeth and just strip bark and eat it.
Yeah.
But yet, I've never seen that. I've never seen that in Newfoundland. Partly because there's probably not as much of that or deciduous stuff
Yeah.
that they're eating the bark from. But yeah, do they do that in Maine?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
usually later fall. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So like our peak rut is end of September, usually first week of October. And then usually after that hunt, because we have a week break in between hunts. Usually after that first hunt, the second hunt, you'll start seeing all the strippings, all the bark
gotcha.
strippings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So I guess moose just gonna be moose no matter where they are.
Yeah, and that's I think what's so fascinating about them is you really do have to adapt to where you're hunting them, and you don't. It's not the same tactics necessarily. Don't get me wrong; some tactics carry over to all stuff, but even though a moose is a moose is a moose, the same way you hunt them is not consistent all across the country. And I imagine Maine would probably factor into it. I imagine your stuff would probably be very similar to what we do in Quebec and New Brunswick and parts of Ontario. But yeah, like I mean, New Brunswick's so thick and dense. Uh,
Mhm.
the cuts tend to have more human pressure, so the moose don't spend as much daylight hours in the cuts. So you tend to be hunting them on the logging roads and stuff. So most New Brunswick stuff, you're pulling them out, and hey, when they pop out, half the time they're 5 yards to 20
Mhm.
yards, like or 40 yards, like they're gonna be right in your face. And you're not seeing them until they're that close because the foliage is so thick. Whereas Newfoundland's a lot of open country. Oftentimes you're calling them from miles away, and you're literally spotting them 2 miles away, and they hear your call, and they work their way in, or you spot and stalk them or something. And yeah, I mean Alberta, some of the moose hunting I've done out there, moose calling is the calling part is almost a handicap. You need to be careful because they seem to know that moose call. It's just showing you the difference of pressure. So where and then you get into like northern BC and stuff where again it's no different than the Yukon. It's a lot of spot and stalk. You spot it from a distance. They do tend to respond to a call, but not necessarily come to the call. Almost like you'll call. They might stand up out of a willow patch. So now they kind of reveal themselves, and then you got to kind of work your way in to get close enough to them, or cut them off, or something like that, or get within their comfort zone where now they'll
Yeah.
come challenge it.
That's what I was just gonna ask if you found that once you get inside their bubble a little bit, will they respond a little bit more better than?
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
usually, but for example, like Alberta. So this is Shirus, and he was huge Shirus, and I think it was the first morning of this hunt, and we spotted him. We got there before the season opened, and so we'd been glassing the day before, so we'd seen him. And so I knew he was there. So we get up the next morning, and we get up to the spot, and we spot this huge bull, and he had, I forget, 4 or 5 or 6 cows with him, and we stalked into about 400 yards because we felt like that was the closest we could get safely without really exposing ourselves or risking bumping him. And I still thought 400 yards with mostly open cover, was still kind of within that range that he should be ready to defend his harem. And I let out a cow call, and he didn't react to me. He didn't give me a sound. I just, if I couldn't have watched him, I wouldn't have had a clue what happened. But because I could see him, I watched him. As soon as that call let out of my mouth, he just immediately went to his first cow and basically hooked around her butt and pushed her, went to the next one, hooked her, and he just haremmed them up and pushed them into the timber. It was just like, and no one else, this was first day of archery season. I guarantee you no one had been in there calling yet. So first cow call of the year, and he literally knew the game and just said, I am pushing these cows out of here. So we ended up trying to hunt him with just like raking with a scapula. We tried him a few of those things, but he would not. We got into 40 yards on him at one point, and he still would not challenge us in any way. And this was King of the Mountain. Like, this guy was a giant, and he knew it, and he knew he didn't need to defend it, because he would rather push his cows away from us and keep them safe than come to defend against us. Whereas, that's usually the tactic most other places. Like, I've been in New Brunswick. This has been a very common tactic. It's so thick, you'll hear moose grunt. Like, it's a wicked place to hunt because it's such a high density of moose. Because they're hard. There's a lot of cover, and so you'll hear moose going all morning long. 3, 4, 5 different bulls in different directions. And you finally, decide they're not coming to you. You've sat there for 2 or 3 hours, and sun's starting to get high. So, you need to make a move. So you start to move in on that bull. And usually you can keep getting them responding enough that you can work right into range, and they're going to stand their ground eventually. And usually you can have a standoff, hoping that the cover lets you see them. But yeah, not with this one. So it is funny how, again, one tactic works with one bull or one area, you could call it, and not with others. And this bull was just one of those ones that, we did end up, I did put an arrow into him, but I did not get him.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It's a tragic story. We hunted him, I think it was almost 14 days. We hunted him, and we were just in a tent in the mountains. And on our last morning, we basically, so we tried everything. Nothing worked as far as aggressive tactics, I'm going to call them. So this time we decided, okay, we knew which draw he would go up every morning. And so we went and GPSed it the afternoon when we knew they were high up in the high country. We went and GPSed the spot. So then the next morning in the dark, we worked our way in with the GPS coordinates, got into our position. And as it got light, we were just getting kind of settled into our spot, and we see a cow, and they were already coming up, and they were way early. They were 15 minutes, probably 10 or 15 minutes earlier than they should have been, and but already on their way up. And so we just hunkered, and so I ranged, and it said 60 yards. And so I was shooting a floating pin, and so I dial my pin to 60 yards, and all sitting and waiting, and the cows come by, and I range them again, 60 yards. Okay, so they walk by, so I'm all set for 60, just waiting and waiting for him. Nothing. 10 minutes goes by of nothing. Maybe I think one of the cows worked back down to him. So when the cows worked back, that's when we decide to move in a little closer. So we get into 45 yards. And so we still just have this one little sight window where he's going to pass up this draw. So he starts to come, the cow comes, another cow comes, and now we see him, and I stop him, perfectly broadside, settle my pin, good, nice release, and I hit him in the hump.
Oof.
Because I forgot to change my pin to 45 when I moved in from 60. And so just in that heat of the moment, this all happened in probably 45 seconds from the time we moved till the time, it felt longer, but it probably was under a minute. And in that time frame, I wasn't smart enough to remember, I just dropped 15 yards. I need to compensate for that or adjust my sight. And I shot him in the hump. And that was tragic.
Did you ever see him again? Did you guys keep trying to hunt that same one?
No, it was our last day. We stayed as long as we possibly could. It was 14 days up there. We stayed as long as we could, and we did have to go home that day. We had commercial flights, and we had another hunt on the back end of it. And so we hunted that valley again, but not that year. So it's hard to say whether we saw him or not. He was definitely an old bull. He was all rubbed off on the tops. Like he didn't have much for points on his tops. Just kind of his fronts were good and the low parts of his sides. But and I'm not saying that's necessarily always an indicator of age, but it just seems like those older bulls tend to lose their points up high on their palms. And he was just one of those boys that just just tragic. So that's one of those heartbreak moments.
The ones that get away,
right? Yeah.
Cool. Hey, we'll start getting on the outro here. We're coming up on an hour here. So what hunts are you most excited for this year? I'm sure you got some. Already did some spring bear.
Yeah. We've done spring bear, spring turkey, all that. We always love that. Winter's long. I mean, you're Maine, you know what winter's like. Winter's long, so you're always excited to get out and shake off the cabin fever. But we'll start moose. We have Manitoba moose. We've got 3 Newfoundland moose. I don't think we're going to draw New Brunswick this year. I mean, I can't remember if the draw has already happened.
Yeah, it happened. They drew a couple days ago.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think we're going to draw. I mean, the chance of that, we always put in, but it's pretty rare. And we don't have anything worked out with an outfitter. So I think we'll end up doing those moose, which those are always exciting. Manitoba is a real northern one. Mm-hmm. It's a fly-in, it's way up there and middle of nowhere. Like there's these moose never see humans. Maybe. No, I don't even think there's any fishermen that come through. I really don't. Like this is an area where these moose truly just don't know what you are. We've hunted with this outfitter before and had some good hunts there. And so looking forward to that one. The Newfoundland though, 3 new outfitters. We've never been to either one of them.
Wow.
So that's always kind of exciting. We don't know what to expect, but those should always be good. They're kind of all right within that same window. That's the last week of September and the first couple weeks of October.
Is that about right when they're rutting up there?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much exactly what you described. That to me, if you narrowed it down to 2 weeks, last week of September, first week of October is kind of that prime. A week on either side of that is still great. We tend not to be in Newfoundland too late into October. It gets harder for sure. Weather just starts to get a challenge, and those bulls rut pretty hard because there's so many cows. So when they start to wind down, they disappear. They just go hide up in the hills and nurse their wounds.
Yeah, to try to recoup a little bit. Yeah, it must be really difficult because you don't have, like you were saying, you don't have distinct food sources to hunt there. Like here, you generally hunt the cuts in October because they're back in the feed pattern, trying to put on the feed bag for winter and recoup from the rut. Yep. So if food's everywhere for them up there, that must be difficult.
They can literally just go hide in a spot where they're sheltered from the wind, which usually means they're sheltered from visibility. You can't spot them, and they have everything right there, and they don't move. So the later season can be tough. Once though the snow starts flying and they kind of have recovered, late season can be good there. The locals actually, that's when a lot of them do it. Go up to snow machines and they have great hunts because the moose are really visible. Yeah, absolutely. But most of the outfitting wraps up though. They're kind of by that latter part of October, 3rd week kind of thing.
All right. Do you have any bucket list destinations left for moose? It doesn't seem like it. You said you've already done Finland and Russia.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I've experienced most of it. I mean, Yukon's always cool. Would I love to go back? I've never seen a 70. Like that would be neat. But Yukon moose hunting isn't what it's cracked up to be either. Like those moose, you have to cover a lot of ground to find moose up there. Whereas I almost enjoy the Newfoundland and Ontario type and Manitoba type hunts where there's higher densities, so your success rates are higher. You may not shoot a 70, you may not shoot a 60, but you get to experience more, if that makes sense. And so to me, I don't know, maybe it's just I'm getting old, but having shot so many moose, and I kind of love that experience of it now. I don't care as much about shooting that giant. I love to experience a grunting bull and one that comes in thrashing trees. And I want to be able to see animals doing their thing. And so, that's why I'm quite content to do Newfoundland every year, do Ontario, Manitoba, New Brunswick, whenever the tags come up. That satisfies my itch. Wonderful.
Yeah. And Newfoundland's not necessarily over the counter, but you get it from the outfitter. Correct.
Yeah, outfitters have allocations, and one of the neat things about Newfoundland actually is there is no limit to how many one hunter can buy.
Oh, really?
So Yeah, which is kind of cool. That's not true of many jurisdictions.
No.
For example, one guy, if he's got the money, can go and just hunt as many moose as the outfitter has allocations and willing to sell him,
Wow.
which is kind of neat. You travel all that distance. If you wanted, and you have to work this out with the outfitter, of course. The outfitter has to have the allocations. But yeah, you can go and shoot 2, 3, 4 moose in one season if you wanted. I've never known anybody who's done more than 2, but I've known
Yeah.
lots of guys that go there and shoot 2.
Are they either sex tags or are they antlered and antlerless tags?
It depends.
So they do
have
both. Yeah.
Yeah, they do both. Yeah, so you can buy either sex or you can buy antlered only.
Oh, okay, cool. Jeez, are you ever going to come hunt in the States or?
I mean, we love the States. We love the U.S. And the hunting in the U.S. is great too. It's just, I don't know, we're Canada in the rough. So
I know.
we kind of as far as the broadcast goes, the business goes, we spend most of our time in Canada focused on that. Even though Finland and Russia and other out of province stuff or out of country stuff that we've done is usually because we're with a sponsor. You know, going experiencing stuff with them. But no, I mean, personally, we do lots, you know, of U.S. stuff, and always excited to go do it. Whether it's, you know, hog hunting or deer hunting. You know, I took my young lad to a friend's place in Illinois because he's not old enough to shoot a deer here in Ontario yet because of our backwards laws. But in the States, hey, you guys give the parents the right to decide when the child's allowed, as the way it should be. And so, you know, he's been down and shot 3 deer now in Illinois, gaining
that's awesome.
experience. Yeah, that he wouldn't get up here because our laws are so restrictive. So, yeah. So no, we love the U.S. Love any opportunity we get to go down there. But as far as from a business perspective, I think we'll probably still keep focused on featuring the greatness of Canada.
Yeah, for sure. You guys got any? Well, probably can't say, but anything, you know, big in the forecast for Canada in the rough, like anything for the future, you know, adding things, changing things, or just keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. It's a good question. No, we're not. We're kind of more the tortoise than the hare, you know, in the business models that we run. So we kind of more focus on making sure that what we do is sustainable. We're really big on representing more of the masses than the niches, if that makes sense. And I'm not trying to discredit anybody in any way, shape, or form, but there are some programs that focus on the niches and they get lots of great clicks and stuff because of it. But we try to focus on, we want to represent the general public, showcasing the heritage of hunting. And we want to do it in a way that is protectable, it's defendable. So yeah, we don't get too crazy. We just kind of like to keep doing the stuff that the average guy can do. I know a lot of people say price wise is not the average guy, and hey, they're not wrong. Things are getting expensive, and because we hunt Canada, you can't go hunt Newfoundland without an outfitter. You can't go hunt Alberta without a outfitter or a hunter host. You can't hunt Yukon without it. So we have to do outfitters. We have to use outfitters. That's the law. Unless we stayed within our own province, and it's pretty hard to get a tag here 1 year, let alone, you know, every year. So yeah, that's kind of the model that we've done. So no, nothing really new. I mean, our kids are getting older. Our kids are definitely getting to the point where they're starting to join us more, which is a new phase.
Nice.
That's kind of new and exciting. But yeah, just kind of keep plugging along, enjoying the great adventures that Canada offers.
Awesome. Well, before we get off here, what's one piece of advice that you would give to our listeners that might be going on their first moose hunt this year?
I would say don't overdo the calling. You know, I think that and we're guilty of this. You watch shows, you watch YouTube, whatever, and you see guys call and you see these bulls come in with their eyes rolled back, where you can see the whites in their eyes, their heads, you know, swaying side to side. They're in that trance, and you expect every moose to come in like that, when the reality is that's actually fewer and farther between. That's the exception, not the norm. And when it happens, it's magical. Like, there's nothing more exciting when that bull's in that trance, because you can do just about anything. But don't expect that. You know, expect bulls to come in cautious. Expect bulls to come in. You know, you probably have bulls watching you completely silent, not making a peep, more so than you ever realize. And so when you stop to make those calls, don't stand in the open. Don't be visible. You gotta hide yourself. And again, I know we're guilty of misrepresenting sometimes because we've called in lots of bulls and shot lots of bulls face to face where we're in the open. But truthfully, when you set yourself up in cover and be covered. Sit yourself back in the timber, and fewer calls are often better. Be patient. We've watched moose take 2 hours to come into our calls. The only reason we knew it took 2 hours is because we could see them. We know they heard our call and we watched them start to approach, but it still took them 2 hours to get into view. So, the patient man's game is definitely the secret here with moose hunting.
Yeah, I know I'm 100% guilty of that. Like you said, we all are.
Well, you want to troll, right? Like everybody wants to hunt the way we fish. Oh, let's go in and make a few casts, and if we don't get a bite, we move on.
Yeah, we call it shotgunning.
Right. Yeah. And hey, that works sometimes. Same turkey hunting, right? Oh, I'm going to come in. I'm just going to go into this property. I'm going to give a couple galls. If I don't get a gobble, we're moving on. Well, you've just missed, all those birds, or in this case, moose, that just weren't willing to be vocal, or that started walking your way immediately, but didn't make a peep.
Yeah, we say this all the time. They have all the time in the world. They could have been eating, and they're like, "Oh, I'll go over there when I'm done feeding."
Absolutely, yes. Or they'll stop and feed on their way. They'll walk 10 steps, and then they'll stop for 10 minutes and eat, and then they'll keep coming. Yeah. So yeah, that for people who, if you're a newer moose hunter, that'd be my advice. Patience is absolutely key. Don't expect it to happen the way you see it on TV all the time, because it happens. It's real. Like we're not making any of it up. But we spend a lot of hours and days getting those moments. So be patient.
Perfect. Sound advice. How can people find Canada in the Rough?
Yeah, so I mean, we're on broadcast, Sportsman Channel USA, Sportsman Channel Canada. We're on City TV in Canada, as well as we're fully French as well in Canada. We translate and go on to TVA Sports. And then YouTube, of course. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever it's called. So yeah, all those social platforms. We have all of various content of various forms. It may take on different forms on different platforms just because of the dynamics of those platforms. But yeah, you can see some form of our content on any one of those.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, hey, Paul, thank you so much for joining me today. I think we had a great conversation, and it was great to finally get you on here. And thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care, and God bless.